What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/ProRevenge. Alright, this story's called Revenge on My Abusive Mother. She never knew it was me responsible for the clink. This happened in 2004 when I was 14. A bit of backstory before I begin. My mother is not a good person. She was abusive verbally for most of my life until I was 14, when her abuse turned physical. Because of her abuse, I came up with creative ways to punish her in my own petty ways, like tampering with her food and dunking her toothbrush in the toilet every day. Heyo, this story is one of my better petty revenges towards her, and the one that annoyed her the most. I talked to my friends about the things she did to me, and although I appreciated the advice to go to the police, I knew that wouldn't work. My mother is very convincing when she wants to be, and every other time I went to the police, they never believed me. Oh, that's horrible. One of my friends, who we'll call Tom, gave me a brilliant idea that would annoy her to no end, but wouldn't get me in trouble. His dad is a mechanic, so Tom knows his way around a car. After school that day, I went with him to his house. He showed me a place underneath the car, between the top of the front wheel and the side of the engine, and told me what to do. Bring on the pettiness. I had to wait a few days to enact my revenge, but the day finally arrived. My mother and my sister left the house to ride their horses, which gave me plenty of time to do what needed to be done. The next day, I went with my mom and sister to do grocery shopping, and I was elated to hear the product of my labor as the car started to drive down the driveway. Clink, clink, clink. I can't do good clinks, I'm sorry. Yes, dear readers, I attached a rock to the end of a string inside the car that made a loud clink sound every few seconds when the car was moving. What the heck is that? No idea. Maybe you should get the mechanic to have a look at it. Remember how I said that Tom's dad is a mechanic? Well, he's the only mechanic in the town we lived in, and Tom made sure to tell his dad about the things my mother did to me. Needless to say, he was on my side. So after we'd done our shopping, we stopped at the mechanic so they could look at it and fix whatever needed fixing. As we arrived at the mechanic, Mom said, "Hi there. Well, my car is making a weird noise when I'm driving. Can you look at it for me?" "Sure thing. How about you take a seat inside and I'll give it a drive and see what the problem is." He got in the car and drove it around the block. When he returned, the noise had miraculously stopped. He charged my mom for the check and we were on our way. But not before Tom's dad subtly handed me the rock back and gave me a wink and a smile as I left. That night, I put the rock back in place and left it to do its thing for the next day. And oh boy, was it satisfying. The next day, the noise was back, so Mom went back to the mechanic. But this time, the mechanic couldn't find anything wrong with it and couldn't hear any noise. I never bothered taking the rock out after that, and neither did the mechanic. He'd experienced her entitlement firsthand and had heard many stories from other people around town about her. The rock wasn't damaging the car or affecting its performance, so there was nothing that needed fixing. I moved away to live with my dad when I was 16, but before I moved, the clink was still there, tormenting my mother every time she drove the car. I lost count of the number of times she took it back to the mechanic and the amount of money she spent on getting rid of the clink. The last time I saw my mother, I was 23 and she still had the same car. I had expected the rock to have fallen out by then, but the car still has a clink, but not as loud. First of all, glad you got out of that situation, buddy. Sucks, but really creative revenge. Really, that's really funny. Also, your friend's dad is really cool. Yeah, that's it. Alright, this story's called Relatives Lose Everything Because They Were Too Stupid to Keep Their Mouths Shut. I can relate. A bit of context here. I work as a lawyer for an excellent and famous law firm here in northern Italy. Heyo, Italian bro, what's up? My family went through some tough times. In the last 9 years, we had to face a brutal divorce with my dad having depleted every single cent he could. One of my aunts was brutally murdered because of a €150 cautionary deposit, my granddad was diagnosed with cancer, and some other funny stuff in the middle. Because of that, our bonds became stronger and stronger. I must say that with my family, I mean my mother, her parents, and my 2 aunts. This year, COVID-19 managed to take away both my aunts. I love them to the moon and back, and one of them was married to a complete douchebag. He always considered himself to be better and smarter than anyone else, and so were his relatives. My aunt and her husband, I straight up refuse to call him uncle, lived in a huge house, and so did his brother with her wife, or his wife and son. He died around 7 to 8 years ago, and he left almost everything he could to just his brother and his family, completely ignoring my family because, oh, P's granddad is already rich, why should I leave anything to his daughter and grandson? Basically, this year my aunt lost to COVID. I was grieving since I really loved her and cared about her, and I already lost another aunt prior. When the notary called us to read the will, both my mother and I came out completely astonished. She left us just a few things, even though she always said she would have left us basically everything. I don't need the money involved that much, as I already inherited from my other aunt, and my job pays me really well. But my mom always had to struggle, financially speaking. It would have been a huge help since she doesn't want anything from me. I tried to give her some money in the past, but she always sent it back, being as stubborn as she can be. As we walked out, I pulled my cousin by my side to ask him just one thing. Hey, cousin! Listen, I know it's a dumb question, but when I last saw her, I brought my aunt a little ceramic bell shaped as a lady. She held it to her chest all the time. I'd like to have it back. It would be a memory of her. He, smiling at me as if I was the most stupid being on the earth, or on earth. Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't know what I could do with that stupid bell. Take it, but don't expect us to give you anything more. We had to sweat bullets for this will to work. I'm sorry, what do you mean? He realized he screwed up, so he just left. My mom went back home. I headed back to my office to take a closer look at my aunt's will. It was bulletproof, and the handwriting was, without any doubt, my aunt's. So what the hell did he mean? It took me several weeks to finally get the clue. As previously mentioned by my husband, it was just this small phrase. My aunt's husband died 7 years before. How the hell could he mention anything? Since zombies are still nowhere to be seen, and I don't know of any deceased person talking from his grave, I started to scan the whole will once again. Things I never noticed became clear as the sun. 1. There were missing pages. My aunt numbered them, but the 2nd and 4th pages were missing, with sentences left hanging there. 2. Some of the corrections were legit, but looking closely, there were a few of them where the uncertain hand of an 81-year-old lady suddenly became stronger and more precise. 3. My aunt's husband was mentioned every time my aunt was talking about money and valuables. He did say something about the savings, but apparently his ties that were to be given to charity didn't need his approval. Strange, huh? When I talked to my mom and her parents about this, my granddad, who's 74 and still has more strength and lucidity than your average 40-year-old dude, mentioned my aunt's husband, Will.
We don't know what he said. His family never let us take a look at it, and it wasn't worth it to sue them.
I went back to the notary the next day, asking to see the will since I was a relative. He let me, but asked what was going on. I simply said, "You'll know soon enough." When I read it, I started laughing so hard that even the secretary came to see what the flippity doodah was going on. I rushed back to my office and started to write everything down. Crap was about to hit the fan, but not for my family. After a few days, my mom, her parents, and my aunt's relatives and I met once again in front of the notary. I already told him what was happening. I could see him trying not to look disgusted at my aunt's husband's beloved ones walking in. We are all here. Apparently, OP has some things to discuss with us concerning inheritances. You could hear a pin drop a mile away. I stood up and opened my bag. My family was smiling. My relatives were staring daggers from their eyes. What? As we all know, Auntie left everything to you. Nothing's wrong here, as she didn't have any direct relationship with anyone in this room. What is wrong is the reason behind it. I handed a copy of the will to everyone, with some parts being highlighted. As you can see, pages are missing. Some corrections are different, to say the least. But most importantly, my uncle is cited quite often. This led me to his will. At this point, my relatives turned whiter than snow. My cousin tried to stop me, telling me I couldn't possibly use my uncle's will as more than 5 years passed. The notary told him that I totally could, as the allowance to contest a will is 10 years. He kept silent. He left to my aunt everything he had if she would have left it to you as she died. You see, in our state, it's not legal to make such a kind of contract. So I want to let you know that you just lost all your rights on my uncle's will, and you are all to be sued for false declaration and public deed and attempted fraud. They started screeching and screaming, calling me names and wishing me an obviously pleasant and late death. All because one of them wasn't clever enough to shut his mouth. Now they lost everything they had, since their farm, their money, their house, their cars were all my uncle's. They have been forced to leave the house they were living in. All their bank accounts have been blocked, and even their farm had to be closed since it was also my uncle's previous activity. Since the corrections they made were actually very precise in some items, jewelry, ingots, cash, are now mysteriously missing. They even have to pay for an equal value. They had a little empire, but managed to lose everything over greed and stupidity. Ladies and gentlemen, please listen to me. If you want to screw with someone, at least have the courtesy of not doing it with a lawyer. That's probably good advice. Like, you don't poison a doctor. I mean, that actually might work. I mean, don't. Or like, using a plunger on a plumber. Oh man, I tried that once. I was in a hospital for a week. He did not like that. This story's called Tyrannical Elementary School Principal Tries Installing a Noise Monitor in the School Cafeteria. When I was in 6th grade elementary school in Southern California, we had an awful principal. Let's call him Mr. Sir, like from Holes. To give you an idea of why I thought he was awful, he mandated a rule that when we were at recess, we could not be in groups larger than 3 people because of gangs. This is an elementary school, people. The proctors enforced this and would blow a whistle at your group if your group was larger than 3 people. Me and my friends usually rotated, having someone walk away from the group then rejoin when the proctor wasn't looking. This is just one example of why I hated this principal. On to the story. Apparently, Mr. Sir thought that all of us kids were too loud at lunchtime in the cafeteria. His office was near the cafeteria, which was outdoor, but had roof coverings over all the tables. So one day, he has this noise monitor installed in the cafeteria that looked like a spotlight. If you look up Yacker Tracker on Google, it kind of looked like that. If it was too loud in the cafeteria, the spotlight would be red, and if it was an acceptable noise level, it would be green. If it was really loud, the spotlight would flash red. The spotlight had been installed for a little while, maybe a week or two, can't remember, but pretty much all us kids would ignore it, and it would constantly be on red during our lunch period. A spotlight was mounted up on a wall that was too far away for any of us kids to reach. One day, Mr. Sir comes out of his office with a bullhorn and yells at all of us kids that we are being too loud. A spotlight had been red that whole lunch period so far. He said,
"You all have to be silent for 1 whole minute."
The cafeteria goes silent. I'm watching the spotlight. It is flashing red. It goes solid red. Goes to yellow, green, then off. Then it crashes to the floor. The whole cafeteria erupts with laughter, and Mr. Sir sourly walks back to his office. The spotlight monitor was removed and never spoken of again. I have no idea why or how the spotlight crashed to the floor, but I like to think it was just karma getting back at Mr. Sir. Haha, that's like really stupid. You want kids to have lots of friends. What the hell? Like, people are weird, dude. People are weird. Alright, this story is called Cheating Ex Gets Screwed Over. Been a bit of a wild 5 days, but I don't know where else to post this, so I'm assuming this is the right subreddit. I didn't carry out the revenge, but the man doing so did illegally, and police reports have been filed and everything. I'm more just getting joy out of her being destroyed and the inconvenience. 5 days ago, I get out of the shower and look down at my phone and see I have a random Facebook message from some girl I don't know. Little did I know this would turn my whole life upside down, as I have been dating this person for almost 2 years. Oh, this guy says hi. I just found out about you, but I have to tell you something about your girlfriend. He says they have been dating for 2 months. She's been over to see him for a week. She told me she was staying at her grandparents'. It's where she grew up. I got proof with messages such as her telling him that I love you, I'm going to move in with you, and some pics that were of a naughty variety. She admitted everything, but said it was a mistake, but I had to end the relationship and she moved out the next day. I've been getting messages of regret the past couple of days that I've had to ignore, but the last message said the bloke had taken $600 out of her bank without her knowledge knowledge to buy something online. Now she's made a report and is getting the money back, but I just thought it was funny that after all that, she's lost me, him, and he's trying to rip her off. Damn, serves her right. That was funny. She plays him and then he freaking takes $600 from her. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.